Hey you guys, what's going on? My name is Read the Writer. I'm currently drinking, I had someone ask me this in my last video what I was drinking. I'm drinking Harvest Apple Spice Cider Ginger thing. It's like an apple seltzer. It's pretty good. It's really healthy. There's nothing in it. I'm trying to move away from me drinking ginger ales and sodas. I'm trying to be a little bit healthier. That's not the point of this video. We're here to talk about Ryan Garcia, as you saw in the title. Let me take a sip of this drink. I want to put some pictures of him on the screen right now. So Ryan Garcia, he's a young kid. He's 25 years old. And he is a very, very famous boxer. I don't know if you guys are into boxing. I am. I grew up at the time of like Mike Tyson. Growing up, I would watch videos of Muhammad Ali. So I'm really, really into boxing. Floyd Mayweather. I would sometimes even go to AMC when they would have the games there live, and I would just watch the boxing events because I think boxing is fun. I just like the sporting of it. Same thing with the MMA. I just think it's really entertaining to watch. But about Ryan Garcia, he's 25 years old. He's a young guy. He has an amazing record, but unfortunately, he was caught up in controversy this past weekend. He went on Twitter, and I guess he's been known to go on Twitter and go on really sporadic rants. But this particular rant that he went on, and I do believe that he is having like a psychiatric episode. I think there's something going on with him mentally. So I went back on Twitter, I went on TikTok, I went on, some YouTube. I just looked at videos of him on social media. And like in the past month, it's just looking at him, something just doesn't look healthy. Like something looks a little bit off. He also admitted that he was on drugs. He's been on drugs. I think that's just a combination of drugs, maybe drinking, the lifestyle, maybe the women, the environment, the friends he's hanging out with. But he went on Twitter, X, and he made a bunch of racist tweets against African Americans, Black people, and he also said some harmful things to Muslims as well. So it's deeply concerning. And because of what he said on X, he was removed from the World Boxing Council, which is also called the WBC. So basically means that he's no longer allowed to box in the form that he's been allowed to. So he's no longer allowed to do that. So he's pretty much lost his career because of his racist rant. And personally, my perspective on the whole thing is, to me, I try to look at everything from a point of grace and understanding, but at the same time, I do like to hold people accountable, especially for their words. And on part one, I look at him and I go, yeah, he's clearly having some mental health issues. There's something going on mentally. I don't know what it is. Because I was watching him hang out with like a streamer, and I was watching some of his erratic behavior. It looked very, very much off. But the people around him didn't seem to be bothered by it. So maybe it was a bit of his personality as well. So that's maybe a factor of who he is. But there still was like a mental disconnect, like glazing of his eyes in some of his social media postings. So I look at it like that. So maybe he had an episode when he was on Twitter. It still doesn't emancipate you from the fact of what he said. And I'm going to go over what he said exactly so you guys can just understand it. But yeah, you have to, I think for him, especially for him being in the position that he's in, to be a world famous celebrity, a world famous boxer, to be known all throughout the world in multiple countries, especially here in America, and to say the things that you're going to say about particular races of people, communities, you have to take accountability for your actions. You can always ask for forgiveness, which I always believe. You can always apologize. You can always say sorry, which I 100% would recommend. But at the end of the day, there are consequences to bad behavior. There's always going to be a consequence. And just because you say sorry, and just because you cry, and just because you are in a position where you're being punished and you don't like the feeling, you're asking for understanding, you're asking for prayer, it does not remove the situation that you place yourself in. And that's like the whole point of being an adult, being an idol. You have to take on that weight. But yeah, I have an article here. I'm going to go over everything he says, everything he did say on X. And I do want to let you guys know what he did say on Twitter is very, very graphic. And I'm not going to really like dance around the world. I'm just going to just say what he said, because that's what he said. I'm not really going to be that person on YouTube that, you know, wants to skate around words. I'd rather just give you guys the truth and the news so you can do whatever it is you want to do with the information that I'm providing you with. So, yeah, I went to 2 different articles because a lot of these articles did not want to say, a lot of these forums did not want to say exactly what he said, but I found one that actually just mentioned it. So I'm going to say what he said, then I'm going to go into the article. So this is what Ryan said. And like I said, this is graphic, just keep that in mind. He said, "I hate niggers." This is what Ryan Garcia said, 25-year-old Ryan Garcia, the boxer. He said, "I'm anti-black," which basically means he does not like black people. He said, "I'm the KKK." 3 Ks, not 2 Ks, not 1 K. He said, "I'm the KKK." And I'll give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. The KKK was a white supremacist organization. They were anti-black. They also hated other races as well, but primarily a lot of their prejudice was aimed towards African Americans. And the KKK was notorious for going into black communities, going into black neighborhoods, going and terrorizing black individuals. And they would do the most heinous, wretched things to African Americans in this country. Like they would hang African Americans from trees, and the worst part is the KKK would lie about it. The KKK would say they could back in the day, a white person could just say anything about a black person, a claim that black person did something which they probably didn't, and that black person would be persecuted for it. So, you know, a white person or a white lady, it's like if the Emmett Till situation, say, this black person whistled at me. A woman could say that, and KKK or members who were extremely racist, they would burn black children. They would cut off black people's genitals, breast as well. They would hang black people from trees. They would run black people over with their cars. They would burn black people on stakes. They would decapitate African Americans. And I'm not just saying this just to, just me saying this. This is true. This is a part of American history. And I would hope that Ryan Garcia would understand the severity of what he said. To say I'm the KKK. The KKK killed hundreds, probably millions of black people, hid their bodies, ruined communities, ruined families, scarred people for generations. Dealing with the KKK living in sundown areas, the KKK would go through towns, and if you were African American and you were out past when the sun was up, you'd be lucky if you made it back home, especially in the South or in Texas and places like that. But yeah, this is what Ryan Garcia said. And that's what I said. I'm not going to go light on it because there's no reason for me to lightly put on rose-colored glasses for his words. He said this. Ryan Garcia tied himself to the KKK with these tweets. And Ryan Garcia also said, hey, let's go bring George Floyd back to life and go kill that nigger again. This is 2024, you guys. This is not 1990. This is not 1946. This is not 1922. This is 2024, and he decided to say, hey, let's go bring George Floyd back to life and go kill that nigger again. This is what it is. These are his words. How do I feel about this? Sad. Really just sad about the whole situation. And I think what's worse is that he does not understand the weight of his words. The weight of his racist comments. And how there are still African Americans still alive today. And this is what no other TikToker or anyone I've seen on YouTube actually say. There are still African Americans today who remember what it was to experience the KKK. To have lived during eras where there were white supremacists, white KKK members who terrorized them. I have an instance where I can share this story with you guys. My family, my father's side, that's why I'm so passionate about all of this. My father's side, they were from Tennessee. This is the South, Covington, Tennessee. This is probably back in the early 60s. My grandfather had served in Vietnam. He was shot multiple times, saving a fellow veteran. My grandfather went back to service, was shot again, received a Purple Heart, and came back to Tennessee in his military attire. Did a phenomenal job in his service. He served his country. And while he was driving through Tennessee with my grandmother was a very, very light-skinned black woman, like myself. She had blonde hair. She was African American, but she had blonde hair. My grandmother had very light, kind of hazel eyes, like me. Me and her have a lot in common physically. But while he was driving with my grandmother, the officers mistook my grandmother for a white woman. My grandfather's very black and very dark. And this is, like I said, this is Tennessee. This is Covington back in the 60s. There's a lot of racism in the South. And they took my grandfather out. He was wearing his uniform. And I believe how the story goes is they put their foot on his neck and got him into the mud. That's what it was. You know, and this is what people went through. And this didn't happen, like I said, 100 years ago. This was not too long ago, the 60s. I've heard stories of people dealing with racism, immense racism back in the 90s. Black people being hung from trees, even in the 90s. And this is what this young man had to come on here onto X and say. So yeah, I'm going to read the article. It goes more into depth about everything he did say and what the conclusion was of his actions. So the article is called Black Twitter Reacts to Boxer Ryan Garcia's Racist Tweets, Non-Stop Rant About Hating Black People. And also in this rant, he also mentioned that he hates Muslims. So no one was safe in this rant. He was coming after everybody. It goes, let me take a little sip. It goes, disgraced boxer Ryan Garcia has a history of problematic behavior. However, the trouble he's found himself in recently could be a career ending, and social media has big thoughts about it. During a Twitter Spaces in early July, Garcia reportedly made several racist tweets, including, this is what he said. This is not me saying, making up words or putting anything in Ryan Garcia's mouth. This is what this boxer said. He said, "I hate niggers." He said, "I'm anti-black," according to MSNBC. When someone else was on the Spaces brought up killing the next George Floyd, the boxer allegedly replied that they should bring George Floyd back to life and kill that nigger again. And this is him. Like, this is... What else am I supposed to say to this? What is any of us supposed to say to this? This man is one of the most famous boxers in the whole entire world. He has a huge social media presence, and this is what he wanted to say. He said, the next George Floyd, bring George Floyd back to life and kill that nigger again. In the aftermath of the hateful comments, Garcia was expelled from the World Boxing Council and harshly criticized by the boxing world and its fans. A few days later, he apologized on social media, saying that he's misunderstood. I don't know how you're misunderstood when you're saying, "I'm part of the KKK. I hate niggers. Bring George Floyd back and kill that nigger again." I don't know how that is a misunderstanding. I don't understand how we can not understand where you're coming from. I don't know how anything is lost in translation. Because to me, it's very, very, very clear how you feel about African Americans in this country. And to me, it doesn't really matter what he says. You don't like black people. You can be around black people. You can have friends as black people. You can date black people. That does not mean you actually like black people. You can even have grown up around black people. But if these are your sentiments, if these are your thoughts, if this is how you're truly feeling inside your spirit, this is just how you feel. And that's okay. And that's what I'm saying. There's really no reason to get mad at him for saying what he was saying. Because this is, to me, this is him operating in his truth. And the great thing is that he exposed himself. He said what he wanted to say. He didn't have to say any of this. He could have talked about anything else on Twitter, on X. He could have mentioned the weather. He could have talked about the tornadoes ripping through the South. He could have talked about flooding. He could have talked about his boxing career. He was suspended. He could have talked about fitness. He's a Christian, supposedly. I don't know how you're a Christian and you hate black people. And you want to kill niggers. And you want to bring George Floyd back so you can kill him. And you're part of the KKK. I don't know what God he serves. Not my God. I don't know. I don't know. I truly don't know. But there's nothing to be misunderstood. He said what he said. This is how he felt about it. And he exposed himself publicly, which is insane. It's erratic. But he said that. And he could have said anything else. Even if he was under the influence, why was that something that he needed to get off his chest? Why did he have to write those sentences? I've met multiple drunk people. I've seen high people. And if you're high and you're drunk and these are the things you're saying, this is how you're feeling about a particular race of people you say you've grown up with and you're friends with. And if you're friends with him, this is how he feels about you. If you're black, even if he says, "Hey, I didn't really mean this, I misunderstood," No, you're not. He said, I take all responsibility for my words. I'm misunderstood. You know who's not misunderstood? Emmett Till. Emmett Till wasn't misunderstood. He was killed. There's no misunderstanding for Emmett Till being black. There was no misunderstanding for all the African Americans who were killed because of the KKK. There was no misunderstanding for all the African Americans who weren't allowed to be in restaurants, who had to sit outside, who had to drink from colored fountains, or who weren't even allowed to drink. There's no misunderstanding for all the black people who had to sit in the back of the bus or get off the bus, or who had to walk. There's no misunderstanding for all the black people who were hung from trees and caught on fire and were raped. But you're misunderstood. And you're part of the KKK. That's great. He said, yeah, I take all responsibility for my words. I'm misunderstood. I just got a lot of trauma. So do black people. To me, it's just the excuses, though. But it's like, okay, you got trauma. So do black people. We have trauma from being in this country, for being slaves. But you have a lot of trauma. It's been a tough couple of months, as everyone can tell. But I am sorry. You know who had a tough couple of months? Emmett Till's mom. You know who had a tough couple of months? People who dealt with sundown towns, who dealt with the KKK. They had a couple bad years, couple bad decades, a couple bad lives. But you were suspended because you were caught with drugs in your system. Super avoidable, but you did that. And you were suspended for your behavior, and you were dealing with the consequences. So you decided to do whatever it is that you're doing with your life, and you hopped on X and you said these things. Which I can, like I said, I can empathize with it. I can understand his feelings. But to have said the words that you said, your words are going to follow you for the rest of your life. I do want to take a pause right there before I read the rest of this article. Take another sip. What I don't think a lot of celebrities understand, especially young celebrities, when you're young, is once you do something like this, you're always going to be known as a racist. And your words are going to follow you for the rest of your career. And you're going to have a very, very young life. For the rest of your life, you're always going to go back to the moment where you said, I'm the KKK and I hate niggers. Because you said that. They're going to follow you. And if you don't believe me, look at other celebrities. I can give you an example. A couple examples, actually. Because this week has been kind of insane on TikTok. TikTok's been pointing out all the races since you guys are all coming out of the woodworks. So we have Camila Cabello. I like her. I like her music. The Havana Commander, whatever song was. Yeah, she was racist back when she was 15. She had a whole page dedicated towards saying racist things, for liking pictures of Normani being hung from a tree, Normani being called a monkey. It's been 15 years since that moment. 15 years since Fifth Harmony. And guess what? Every time I go on TikTok, guess what it says right underneath her post? Camila Cabello's racist tweets. I'll give you another one, since like I said, all the racist people are coming up right now. Since there's something cooking in July. I don't know what it is. There's just something cooking. There's a singer. Her name is Sabrina Claudio. She said some racist stuff back in the day against black women with darker skin. Still to this day, this woman said this back when she was like in her early 20s. She's almost close to her 30s. Still to this day, when I go on, because I didn't even know she said this until like recently. When I go online, the first thing I see underneath her comment section, majority of the time, is Sabrina Claudio's racist tweets, racist page. Sabrina Claudio never apologized to African Americans, to black women. For the rest of your life, these words are going to follow you. And the sad part to me is just to think that you are a legend. You are a famous boxer. You were gifted with so much. There's so many people who dream of being in the position that you are, to have the blessing that you have, to have the wealth that you have, to have the career that you have. There's so many black young boys who are looking up to you. And, you know, you say this. And you have to live with this for the rest of your life. And you're misunderstood. He said, I struggle with substance abuse, and it's hard for me with everything going on. Okay, so you're on drugs. I actually love black people. No cap. Which is why I'm actually sad and offended. I offended all my black family and friends. I actually love black people. I don't know. You may have been on substances, you may have been drinking, you may have been on drugs, but you still said that. And like I said before, you can be a racist and have black friends, you can date black people, you can surround yourself by black people, and you can still feel as if you do not like black people. You can still feel superior to black people. You can still, part of you, hate black people. And I don't know where it came from. Maybe it came from how you were raised, the people around you. Maybe the people around you don't like black people. I don't know. Maybe you picked it up. Maybe something inside of you, it clung to that. But to me, regardless of you being on substance, you still said that, because you could have said anything when you were under the influence. But something particular about black people irked you so much that you said, I hate niggers. Bring George Black so we can kill him. I don't know. And he said, this sucks, but all I can do is be better and stop using stupid words and letting some people in my circle hype me up. Sorry, everyone, that I offended. So I'm guessing that the people he was around were encouraging this behavior. So maybe the people around you are also racist. I don't know. But if they're hyping you up to go on Twitter and say these things, one thing I can say to you is these aren't your friends. If you have friends and they like it when you're high and you're drunk and you're wasted, they like it when you embarrass yourself publicly online, those aren't your friends. Those are not your friends. Especially if they know the position you are in with your career and your reputation and your name, and they don't say anything and they're hyping you up, those aren't your friends. This reminds me also of Ja Morant. Y'all remember that back in the day? Actually, a little back in the day, it was a couple months ago. Ja Morant was caught with a gun online with his friends. This man has a multi-million-dollar contract with the NBA, making millions of dollars, went to a fantastic school during college, and he got caught up with a gun. He was punished for it. And his friends encouraged that. Then guess what? After being punished, after not being allowed to play any games, he goes online again and puts on a gun with a friend. Those aren't your friends. Your real friends are going to want the best from you. They're going to want to encourage you. They're not going to want to see you stumbling around on drugs. They're not going to even want you to be in that position. They're going to want you to be the healthiest you can be. Especially you being a boxer. You need to be in the best physical shape. Like, your true friends are going to be the ones who are going to be feeding you healthy stuff, who are going to be motivating you, who are going to be praying for you, who, anytime they see you slipping, they're going to sharpen you, especially if you say you're a Christian. Iron sharpens iron. You can't get sharpened off of lead. That's like the truth right there. You gotta surround yourself around people who are going to sharpen you. And if your friends are hyping you up, then I don't know. Maybe you're not around good people. But especially if your friends are allowing you to get drunk in public, because anything can happen to you. You can get harmed while you're drunk. Because now you're a liability. Because you're a threat to yourself. And now you're also opening yourself up to be preyed on. Anything could happen to you. Someone could take advantage of you. Like a woman could take advantage of you sexually. That happens a lot of time. A lot of men don't talk about that, but that happens also a lot. You could be robbed. You could be jacked. You could be kidnapped while you're on drugs. And they're hyping you up. He said, I still stand on stopping black on black crime. And see, look right there. Right there. How are you trying to flip the script? Black on black crime. Black on black crime is an issue. But you know what also is an issue? Racism. It's not about black on black crime. We're addressing what you said. You're avoiding what you said. I'm misunderstood. That's insane. He said Garcia followed that up with posts asserting that in the hood everyone has said the N-word. Doesn't mean it's right. Just because in the hood everyone does meth doesn't mean it's right. You should be doing meth. Who says that? Just because everyone around you is doing cocaine does not mean you should do cocaine. Just because everyone around you is an abuser doesn't mean you should be an abuser. You're not like everybody else. You're not. Like, you're Ryan Garcia. You're one of the greatest boxers on this planet. You have a wonderful career ahead of you. You're not like everyone else. You're not in the hood. You're gone. Those days are gone. I saw another interview. I was curious about him. It's from Victorville. From California. I've been to Victorville. I live in Cali. I know people up there go through. They're on drugs. Not all of them. But there's a lot of crime out there. There's a lot of disparity. To come from that situation, to come from an area where it's not known and to make a name for yourself, but to lose it all for racist tweets, it's disheartening. That's probably why I'm so firm on this video, because I understand that. I understand growing up with nothing. I know how it feels to work for everything that you have and not being given anything. For people to look at you and not think that you can be great and to rise to the occasion to be great. That's what I'm saying. It's so sad to see someone be given everything and to throw it away because substances, for women, for the lifestyle, for drinking, for clubs, for people, for the environment. He says that black people can be racist, absolutely, but we're not talking about other people. We're talking about you. What did you say? And that's what I noticed. A lot of people, what they do is when they don't want to take accountability, they start doing deflection tactics. Instead of them going, yeah, I injured someone, they'll go, well, she provoked me. Well, she made me mad. Well, she didn't come home on time. No, it's not about what they did. It's about what you did. It's how you're operating. Black on black crime, that's for black on black crime. For black people who are racist, that's for black people who are racist. Right now, it's about you and what you said on X. And he also says he also called out the WBC for its decision right on X. So many other people have said racist remarks, and you never expelled them. Yeah, that's true. But you said racist remarks. And that's the deflection right there. That's ego. That's 100% ego right there. That's the inability to take accountability for your actions. When you can't look at what you did, but you have to point out everyone else, you're not ready. His response was not well received on social media, where many users seem to think it is weak. I don't know about that. He said, I take accountability. He said, I take all responsibility for my words. I'm misunderstood. I actually got a lot of trauma. He just basically said, I struggle with substance abuse. I actually love black people, no cap. I can't tell you like black people. From what you just said, you just revealed yourself. You exposed yourself. One person let him know his issues don't give him a free pass. Pick one. Either you're misunderstood or you take full responsibility, and that's all we ask. Everyone goes through tough times. It's not an excuse to be a prick. You're a grown man with a gigantic platform, and you have a duty to use your platform responsibility because of your influence you wield. And that's what it is right there. It's your responsibility because you were given a platform. You were given a position. And especially if you believe in God, things do not happen on the because. They happen for you because you were supposed to have that. It's a blessing. You're blessed to be in a position where you can be influential. You're blessed to be in a position where you can influence. Not everyone has that power or that stage. You have the power to change lives. You have the power to bring notice and attention to anything that you choose on this planet, especially with the platform that he has. He could speak on cancer. He could promote, why it's healthy to take care of your pets. He could go on a whole anti-vegan spill protecting animals. He can go on a whole spill about why it's important to pick up trash. He can go on a spill of why it's important to work out and to be healthy and to focus. There's so many things he could have said with his platform, and he could have used with his face and his recognition and his name, but he chose to say, I hate niggers. And it goes, if you cannot use the platform wisely, do not use it. Step away from social media limelight, grow, seek help, and get your act together. An apology without corresponding action is empty and hollow. And this is where we have to draw the line with it. An apology is you taking notice for your actions. It doesn't mean anything. It means that you acknowledge what you've done. But here's the follow-up to an apology, to saying sorry. This is where a lot of people fail. You can say sorry, acknowledge your mistake, acknowledge your sins, but the follow-up is repentance. And that is the daily action of moving away from your sins, from seeking the forgiveness, for earning the forgiveness. You have to make amends for what you've done, and that takes time. It does not happen overnight. So for him saying he's misunderstood, he's sorry, that's not enough. You can't just say sorry. What are you going to do after you said this? How are you going to make amends to the black community for your words? How are your fans going to perceive you moving forward? What are your actions? I know he said he's going to go to rehab. That's a start. But how do you gain acknowledgement for what you said? You take responsibility for that. And there's more to this, because he also said he expressed that his disgust for Muslims. Let me see what else he said. He said he calls himself the face of Christian athletes. No, you're not. And he said this is how he behaves, and he expressed his hatred for Muslims when Sneakio. Yeah, so he said he hates Muslims. This user said, Oscar De La Hoya said, there's no room for hate or intolerance at my company, period. Condemn Ryan's words. I respect that. Okay, yeah, I don't need to read the rest of this, but moving forward, if he's going to do rehab for sure. Absolutely do rehab. Clean yourself up. Take care of your mental health. Because I don't wish him any harm or anything bad or any ill will. I would never wish anything like that on anyone. To me, it's just sad watching such a young person destroy themselves publicly on social media. It's really sad because it just didn't have to go that way. He has such a wonderful opportunity, such a wonderful life ahead of him, a beautiful family. But moving forward, sure, yeah, rehab is a start. But I would highly recommend, especially for him, especially for the Black community, is he needs to learn about KKK. If he took a pause on his life and he actually took a couple classes on Black history, he would understand how detrimental his words were. Because you have to have empathy to feel what this race of people, Black people, went through. And that's a choice. You're choosing to empathize with the Black struggle in America. But I would love that for him. I would love if Ryan Garcia studied the KKK. I would love if he went to museums, especially in the South. There's some amazing museums out there in Virginia, out in Washington, D.C. There's African American museums out here. But the one in D.C. I like a lot. But he needs to go and watch movies, read books, watch movies on the KKK, on how racism in this country actually impacted Black people, what it did, the trauma did to Black people to their core, that affected them generationally, how it affected them mentally, how it affected, changed their DNA, the trauma. We still live with that trauma. I wasn't even alive for that time. I wasn't even alive during the KKK. I'm too young for that. But even then, feeling what my grandparents went through, feeling what my mother went through growing up in West Covina, not being allowed to drink from certain water fountains, not being allowed to go see certain friends, not being allowed to go in people's homes. This is my mother. This is my mother in the 70s and 80s, in the 90s. Not being allowed to go to white people's homes and having to drink from water hose. My mother, her childhood, she was called the N-word. This wasn't forever ago. This is the 80s. My mom grew up. My mother was a young adult, not a young adult. She was a teenager. She was in middle school during the 80s, and they were calling her stuff like that. My mother calling her the N-word. So yeah, he needs to go to museums. Like I said, the museum in Virginia is amazing, but he needs to physically understand what the KKK was. He needs to understand what Black people actually go through, the colorism, the texturism, what we felt, so he can feel it. You have to feel. This is the perfect moment for him to gain empathy instead of apathy. You can't begin forgiveness if you're deflecting, you're throwing, you're pointing the finger at other people. Point the finger at yourself. This is you. This is your time. But yeah, I feel really sad for him. I'm wishing him the best. Drugs are no joke. Don't do drugs, you guys. If you get into a position where you're where he's at, or you want to be where he's at, don't do drugs. I promise you guys, there's nothing to gain from doing drugs. There's nothing to gain. You're stuck with all the consequences. If you're gonna drink responsibly, but don't drink to the point where you're completely wasted in public. And if your friends are watching you get wasted in public, they're not your friends. I promise you guys that. If your friends are allowing you to stumble in public, to slur your words, to be in a position where at any moment something can happen to you, where you can be kidnapped, abused, R-worded, anything, in public, those aren't your friends. If your friends are allowing you to get on X, to say racist things or things that you should not be saying, those aren't your friends. Your real friends are going to be the people who are going to correct you and sharpen you. Your friends are going to say the things that you don't want to hear because they love you. Your friends are going to be the people who are going to hurt your feelings, but they're going to do it out of love because they want you to do better. Those are your friends. Same thing with your family. If your family's not sharpening you either, you got to move away from them. But yeah, I'm wishing him the best. I really am. I'm hoping he gets off his drugs. I'm hoping rehab actually does something for him. I hope he has a moment where he can sit down and be alone with his decisions now that he's no longer allowed to box. He still has a career if he wanted to go into MMA, if that was possible. He could still flip it. But you still have to sit alone with your thoughts. And that's the hardest thing. When you're taking drugs and you're drinking and you're sleeping with a whole bunch of women, you're trying to run away from things. But you can't run away from yourself. You can't run away from you. I've tried it, trust me. You can't run away from you. When you're alone in your room, you're alone at night, and you're by yourself, you are left alone with your demons. And it's until you get so tired of them is when you start kicking them out of your life. You start rebuking them. So spiritually, he needs to get his act right. He needs to find God. He needs to, if he calls himself a Christian, because that's not godlike. But yeah, he needs to get alone with God and really just dwell. Like, he needs to get away from everybody. Get away from the environment he's in. Because the environment, if the environment he's in is bringing this out of him, the environment's toxic. It's like a flower. You plant a flower in soil where there's no nutrition, it dies. But you remove that flower, that seed, and you put it into healthy soil, it begins to grow. So right now, he's dying in the soil that he's in. He needs to be put in healthier soil. So yeah, get away from that. I'll tell any young man, this is turning into like a therapy session, but this is just what it is. This is what's on my heart, like, just to say, especially to young men. If you're sleeping with a whole bunch of women, and you're thinking, yeah, I can sleep with this girl, I can sleep with that girl, she's bad, this and that. Those women are draining you of your energy. Those women don't actually like you. They don't love you. They love what you can do for them. They like how being around you gives them so much accolade and attention. But they're not actually adding any value to you. Because there's a difference between good women and bad women. Y'all got to keep that in mind. A good woman's going to pray for you. She's going to believe in you. She's going to uplift you. She's going to walk with you. She's going to run with you. When you fall, she will cover you. That is a good woman. A good woman, she knows what to do with her coins. She's a businesswoman. She's savvy. She's smart. She has wisdom. She has grace. But a bad woman, she will 100% rob you of your energy and put you in a position that will be your downfall. But yeah, you got to get away from the women, get away from the drugs, get away from, if it's your family, get away from your family. Be alone. I tell anybody that if you're young, be alone. Be by yourself. Heal. Figure out your trauma. Go to therapy. Talk it out. But don't go to drugs and substances. It's not going to fulfill you. Drugs and women and partying will leave you empty. It's not fulfilling. That's why you have to keep doing drugs. Because you're never going to get the perfect hit. You're never going to be satisfied. It's not enough. You can have sex with 10,000 people. It's not going to fulfill you. You're not going to get any fulfillment from that. But yeah, I do. I wish him the absolute best with everything. And I do. And I hope he does find God in this situation. Or he leans on God. And what a beautiful moment to do that. But yeah, I really am. I'm hoping that he comes out of this. I'm hoping like 2-3 years. Comes on here and he has his like speech. And it's very positive. And his life changes for the better. But yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. This video is a little bit long, but I'm really just trying to speak from a place of like love. Because sometimes I look at the celebrities and you know, you want to look at them as not as people, but these are real people. And a lot of people want to come on here and bash Ryan Garcia online, want to send him death threats, want to terrorize him, want to call him a despicable piece of trash. Like all the horrible stuff they want to say about this man. It's not what this man needs right now. First of all, he needs grace. He also needs to face the consequences of his decisions and his actions. But this is a perfect opportunity for him to receive love, especially from the black community. As a black person myself, I can also say to him, like, I don't hate you. I really don't. I feel sorry for you that you said that. Because there's so many black people on this planet who have done so many wonderful things. Maybe you haven't met enough black people. But we're a beautiful race of people. We're inventors. We're scientists. We're scholars. We study the stars. I'm a writer. I write poetry. I write fiction books. We're writers. We're designers. We do so much. We're Christians. We're pastors. You know, so many beautiful black people on this planet. But yeah, this is, you know, racism. It's just not what it is. I think if you're racist, you're missing out on people. You're missing out on connecting with people from different cultures. You can study cultures. You can study things from different people. You can try different foods. That's one of my favorite things. Like, this summer I went to Japan. I learned so many things about Japanese people and their culture. And I really do. I have so much love for Japanese people. I have so much love for their food, for their morale, for their character. How much they value hard work. How much energy and effort they put into everything they do. I literally went to Japan and I came back a completely different person. I love ramen now, but now I really like ramen. But I came back completely changed. Now I put so much effort into what I do in life and how I dress and how I present myself. Because I looked at that culture and I went, wow, I want to be great too, like these people. I guess the same thing for him. He needs to get around black people and be like, man, and learn some stuff. But yeah, that's the end of this video, guys. Because, yeah, that's the end of this video. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Just be nice on the internet. And you don't have to be like him. You don't have to go down to that level. And I hope you never do on social media. You want to speak words of hate to people. You want to bash people. True, you can have judgment and you can speak your truth, of course. But I would say, like, you know, you do it out of love. I would say you hate someone or you just want to bash them or make them feel horrible about themselves. Because your words do have life. Your words are living. Don't ever think that you're going to say something and it just floats away and it's just gone. Your words are written down. Your words are documented. And they're living. They never go anywhere. You can say something to someone, you can say something mean to someone. 20 years from now, they're going to remember what you said. That's how much weight your words have. You know, especially as a Christian, you know, not to go too much on the Bible with that. But there's a scripture I love. It goes, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and God was the Word. God was the Word. Your words are alive. Your words can build cities, or your words can destroy them. Your words can breathe life into people, and your words can be their destruction and downfall. And that's just the thing about him, what he said. I don't think he realizes how many people he offended and he hurt and he damaged, especially people who grew up during the KKK, grew up in the South. Apology is not enough. We have to see your actions. And I would love to see that. But yeah, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I will definitely see you guys for the next video. I appreciate all the subscribers. We've been growing a lot on this channel. I'm so grateful. We're so close to 1,000 because that's my goal. I'm feeling it for this year. I'm feeling it. It's coming. I'm being patient. I'm letting whatever happens, happens. I'm not attached to the how. I just know I'm going to get there. That's it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. I'll see you for the next